I'm Mahdi Shaheeb Sher. My website is www.mahdishaheebsher.com. I think one of my interests in the world as Mahdi Shaheeb Sher is kind of Moscow burning. I think we have had kind of in studying Russia's history and its kind of development as a modern world leader in the world, we have had issues of Russian grievance in the world where they feel maybe betrayed by the world, or they have some kind of cause of complaint or grievance. I think that there is a sensibility in Russian character, and I think the Russian people are sensitive people, and I think with that, I think that there is always a cause for concern or complaint, a cause for complaint by Russian people with the world. I think Russia is very isolationist at the moment, and I think that could be attributed partly to the fact that Russia feels like it has a grievance in the world. It feels like it's not been helped with some of its own fair share of things, or maybe that the world has not lived up to its responsibilities and maybe its expectation with Russia. I think Russia feels that it's received no acknowledgement, no consideration, and no kindness for some of the things that it's done for the world. And I think the Russians feel very strongly that they have done a lot for the world. That could be disputed. There could be a lot of disagreement for that, because a lot of the world is quite intimidated by Russia, and they might feel that Russia in fact is very aggressive towards the world rather than progressive. So I think one of the reasons why we have kind of Russian isolationism in the world is because of this psychological scar where Russia feels betrayed by the world. It feels like it's no longer part of the world. It feels like it's not welcome in the world. It feels like it's not received any acknowledgement from the world. And I think with that sad, tragic kind of view of the world, that Russia has become isolationist, and it has withdrawn into its own corner. And of course that is very concerning with Russia, because Russia should never withdraw into its own corner. So I think that we do have maybe some kind of Moscow burning kind of spectacle where there is Russian isolationism, but it's kind of abandoned its capital, and it's kind of Moscow burning, similar to when Napoleon invaded Russia in 1812. I think that's kind of the situation we have with Russia. It's kind of abandoned its capital, and no civilization or people has kind of ever abandoned their capital like that. But when you look at the character of the Russian people and its holy men and czars and leaders, they've just abandoned their capital. That's what they've done as a people in a country. And I think we have some instance of Moscow burning. That's what it's called. There's a lot of film representation of this. There's pictures and images of Moscow burning, and it's essentially all of the people evacuating Moscow, and then its prisoners being released. And I think those Russian prisoners just set Moscow alight with furniture and things. And I think it takes something like 12 to 36 hours for Moscow to start burning. And I think this sheer ferocity of those flames with Moscow burning is kind of like the aggressiveness that Russia feels towards the world, that it has to evacuate and burn its own capital just to be heard in the world. And I think that is very, very shocking, for Russia to withdraw into a corner like that, as maybe some kind of big Russian bear, and to draw on its kind of appetite like that is very bewildering today. And I think in terms of how the world is at the moment, we do have to deal with Russian isolationism. It means the global economy is in meltdown. We have the banking crisis, which could be attributed to Russia. And we've had a build-up of Russian armament and tanks. Russia's produced 1 million tanks. And if you compare that to a build-up of armament, it's maybe similar to Germany in the 1930s, when it built up its army again after it was demilitarized after the First World War. I think some kind of passive defense, but I think Russian armament of 1 million tanks is one of the biggest armaments in modern times. It's probably half the size of the 1930s German build-up of armament for the Second World War. And I think that these 1 million Russian tanks is a threat to world peace. I think it's probably the second or third most serious threat to world peace, after maybe global terrorism and other things. But I think 1 million Russian tanks is something that is very concerning, and I think that Russia has to be kind of sat down at a table, a negotiating table, if that's possible, and it has to be kind of spoken to in a frank but also an honest way, and it has to have terms laid out before it so that people know where it stands, and it doesn't have maybe kind of insulting behaviour like a build-up of 1 million tanks, or maybe the banking crisis, or interference with financial systems, or maybe propping up rogue regimes throughout the world, or maybe building up China and drawing on defensive pacts with China. I think that Russia is becoming very involved in the world on an aggressive military level, and I think this does need to be addressed and spoken about. So I think we are dealing with a very strong issue of Russian character in the world. Thank you very much.